Hey everybody, it's Ryan at Ripping One Handed on Twitter. I have one hand. This is not it. This is where my left hand would be. I don't have that one. I have my right hand. And the reason I bring that up, not to surprise you, but because I want to tell you a story today. A story about when I met my hero growing up, Jim Abbott, and how we have become friends. You know, like sometimes they tell you don't meet your heroes because it just never goes well. I beg to differ, my friends. It's been a pretty incredible story. So if you don't know who Jim Abbott is, he was a Major League Baseball pitcher, had a very successful career. He was born with one hand as well. Now, he came into the league in 1989 and 1988. He pitched for the United States. And it was amazing. Like in 88, I was 11. I was in fourth grade. It was a perfect time for me to be like all in on baseball, and to see a Major League Baseball pitcher with one hand meant the world to me. Now, that was before the internet, and so we couldn't just jump on and just find stuff. Like, I would see things in the newspaper. I would go look at the standings in the newspaper. I would read the recaps in the newspaper, and it was pretty amazing to see that. And I followed Jim's career. He had a really successful rookie campaign. I believe he was 5th in the Rookie of the Year voting. 91, he was 3rd in the Cy Young voting. So he had a successful beginning to his career for sure. Now, one of the fun things that I still have, I believe I was in middle school actually, and I would walk over to a baseball card shop that was close to my dad's house. I would visit my dad every other weekend, and usually Saturday morning, I would walk a couple blocks over to the baseball card shop and just hang out there and talk with the guy and buy some cards. That was back when you could buy, 1990 Donruss and Fleer, and like you buy a million cards for like $2 or whatever. Not really, but you know what I mean. But I remember one time I went, and the shop owner gave me this. It is a autographed picture of Jim Abbott. I looked at the date on the back. It says 1988. And look at that, number 60 on his jersey. Jim wore number 25. So this is pretty cool to have such an early photo of Jim in his Angels uni and have it signed. And I just remember how cool it was to be like, wow, an autographed picture of my hero. And he just gave it to me, and it was super nice. I still have it up in my room. I have since accumulated quite a Jim Abbott collection. You can see all those cards there. This is most of them that I have, but literally have hundreds of Jim Abbott cards. Many of them came from people on Twitter, and I'll explain why as we get a little bit more into that. But how did I meet Jim? Years ago, I had a podcast called Podcasting One-Handed. Shocking, right? And I remember I was like, man, these are some people that I would like to interview. And so I was on Twitter, and a friend of mine, Newell, who's he also has one hand. He is an MMA fighter, actually has a Bellator fight coming up this coming weekend, June 12th, next weekend, I guess. So you should watch that. But I remember he was fighting, and Jim had tweeted at him and wished him good luck. And then I tweeted back at Jim and said, hey, Jim, huge fan, grew up watching your career. You were an inspiration to me, so many others. I would love to interview you sometime. Just kind of put it out there and thought, we'll see what happens. Well, within like 2 minutes, Jim had replied back and was like, let's do it. And I remember I was sitting on my couch right back there, and my wife walked in like right after I got that. And I was just sitting there like staring at my computer. She was like, are you okay? And I was like, I think I'm going to interview Jim Abbott. And she was like, yeah, that makes sense. And so I was kind of freaking out, like, oh my gosh. And so I did indeed get to interview Jim, and it is one of my most favorite things that I've ever done. If you go to livingonehanded.com, it's my website, click on the podcast page and listen to the interview with Jim Abbott. It's from years ago now, but it's still just an amazing window into his life and career, and he had some incredible things to say on that. I'm very proud of it still. So check that out. Really cool interview with Jim. And then sometime later, I do some speaking myself. I wrote a book. Many of you have seen Different is Awesome. And I do some speaking. And I was going to Los Angeles to speak at the Children's Hospital in LA. And on the plane, I remember thinking, wait, I think Jim lives out here. I wonder how close. And so I actually emailed him from the plane. Ooh, fancy, fancy. And I was just like, hey, Jim, I'm on my way to LA. I'm going to be there this weekend because I'm speaking at this event. I would love to go out, get a drink with you or something, like whatever. And I was like, he probably won't respond. He's probably busy. It's fine. But I would regret if I didn't ask. And before I got off the plane, he had replied and said, hey, that's awesome. I'm going to be at that same event. So I'll see you there. So again, initiate, 12-year-old Ryan freaking out. I get to meet Jim Abbott, not only talk to him, but meet him, right? I was so excited. And I had my glove and a ball because I was demonstrating how I catch and throw a baseball during my talk. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, if he brings his glove and we play catch, game over, baby. And that indeed is what happened. So I got to meet him at this event, and he was just the kindest, most encouraging, just the best dude ever. Very tall. I have a picture that I'll see if I can incorporate somehow. But if you go to Twitter, you can probably see that picture. But man, he sat in on my presentation, and I could just see him engaged and nodding his head, and like he was just like so encouraging. And then I invited him up, and I asked beforehand, I invited him up to play catch with me in front of the audience. And like, even thinking about it right now, I'm like, whew, like it was so cool to play catch with my hero. And I remember him saying, hey, I love how you do, he said, I like how you do your switch better than mine, better than I do it myself. And it was funny. Like, obviously we do them different ways because our arms are different lengths, but it was cool just to connect on that level. And so then he actually, before then, if you have the book, you can see on the back, he is the one who wrote the blurb for the back of the book, which again, I can't believe the life that I'm living where my hero Jim Abbott is endorsing my book and like just being the kindest dude ever. And so now we are friends. Like we text and just talk about baseball. And I a lot of these cards that I showed you, the reason I have so many, first of all, I had a ton of them from when I collected when I was a kid, but also I put out a message and I was like, I love to give away Jim Abbott cards when people buy my book. And so kids who maybe haven't heard of him, get to be introduced to him. And so people were like, hey, I have some that I don't need. Can I send them to you? Absolutely. So I'll extend that invitation to you now as well. If you have any Jim Abbott cards that you're just sitting on and you're not going to do anything with, send them my way, and then I'll get them into the hands. That's funny. I'll get them into the hands of kids who oftentimes only have one, which is pretty great. And so, yeah, it's been an amazing experience to get to meet and become friends with Jim, and he really is just the coolest, kindest guy ever. And I do remember, when he threw a no-hitter with the Yankees in 1993. It was a week before my 16th birthday. So again, a perfect time for me to be unencumbered by adults' responsibilities, right? I was just a 15-year-old, loving life, loving sports, fully invested, and I still have that game on a VHS tape from 1993. It was pretty awesome. So I want to encourage you. I know my story is unique, but don't be afraid to meet your heroes. If it doesn't go well, I'm sorry, that does stink. But you know what? It could go amazingly well. And in those moments, man, just enjoy the heck out of it. So I appreciate you watching. Check me out on Twitter at Ripping One Handed, Ripping the number one handed. Comment, share, like, all that good stuff that you're supposed to say. But until then, I don't know. I always feel like I should say something kitschy, like keep collecting. Or what else could we say? Stay happy in the hobby. I'm literally just making up those right now, and I don't like them, so I'm not going to do that. So anyway, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Peace.